Hello everyone, I've noticed a lot of confusion about how to actually cite an MLA format. I'm recording this video on Monday, August 31st, and we had just finished the commonplace book entry for American Dreams, and I have a few people who are confused about my comments. So I want to make a video because I think it's easier to show everybody what I mean. And so in this, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go to Purdue OWL, which is Purdue Online University's writing lab and online writing lab. And you can find the same information I'm looking at right now in the back of your textbook. A lot of it you can also find on the PowerPoint that I made in the going back to watching the class period from week 1. When you're here, we're going to do MLA guide. You could also look at similar information if you were in a class that requires APA format. You're going to click on MLA formatting style guide. And when you're citing, you always want to ask yourself, what type of source am I citing? So if you're doing a website, you would click on electronic sources and you would find a sort of website or a full page in a website. If you are doing a book, like we are right now, we're going to click on books. And then the sources, not every source, like if you're doing just a book with one author or a book with 2 authors, you can look and see what the format is. But for American Dreams, and I'm not going to cite American Dreams, I'm going to cite an essay that's similar in format. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at a work in an anthology, reference, or collection. This is an essay that is within like a larger collection or book, like a chapter in a textbook, like your textbook, or American Dreams, an essay in a book. So what I like to do is I'm going to just paste this to my Word document. And if you're like writing an essay, you would do this similar too. If I could actually do that. So you should be able to see, I got too many pop-ups here. See that? And then I'm going to also look at this over here. So hopefully you should be able to see kind of at both of these in this screen. I'll move this over a little bit more. And so this is the format, and it just tells you where everything goes. For this essay too, there's only one part missing, and that's the addition. So if you had an addition, it would go like after the book title, and in this case, it's going to go after the editor. After the editor, because we have one. And you can find that information under the addition. And so first thing you have here is last name, first name. And so that is the author. And these 2 people are not the author, they are the editors. And for American Dreams, the editor's like somewhere around here. I don't know why they didn't make it obvious. This is just an example essay you're not reading for this class. So the author of the essay, if the author of the essay is different from the author, the names up here, or kind of somewhere around here, that means that they're an editor. Editor is the person who is not writing the essay. They are the person who are compiling all the essays together in a specific order, making sure if there's like an author's introduction, that they have that. They kind of decide how everything's going to look. So they are not that. You know that it's an editor if these people's names are different from the names down here. So Monica Potts is not John Mock or John Metz. She's Monica Potts. So she is the author of the essay, and it's going to be right next to, or somewhere around, the essay's title at the beginning of it. So you would put the last name, kind of by that, in the first name. And the reason this is helpful, this strategy is helpful, because you can just plug in information. And you look at the title of the essay, which would be Squeaky Clean. I'm going to put that in there. And you have title of collection, which would mean you would go up to the top again and you would see Inventing Arguments. That would be the title of your collection. Oh, I spelled clean wrong. Learn. And then you would just erase this, and instead of having title of collection, you would put in Inventing Arguments. And you can already see it's in italics, you don't have to change anything. And you've edited by, and you have these people's names. If you have editors, you don't put them last name, first name, you just put them, first name, last name for all. It's different from the authors, and you would just put them in the order that they came. And I already put third ed, and you would have publisher, and a lot of times your publisher is down at the bottom, or could be mentioned like somewhere up here on that second page. And so this one is Wadsworth. And then year, if you have an edition, you have more than one year to choose from, you would select the most recent year. You're not going to put all 3 years. If you only have 1 year to choose from, you only put that. So that's 2013. And lastly, you would put it page range of entry. You have to do this yourself, meaning you have to look at the page ranges. So if a lot of times the first page doesn't have a page number on it, you look at the second page. And so you should delete this. You put PP. It starts on 518. And then you go all the way to the last page, and you'd say to 520. You put a period there. And you also want to make sure that everything is in format, like is in double spaced. So I'm just gonna, this is not necessarily for complex book entries, but for your formal essays, double spaced. And you also want a hanging indent. And so one way, I'm on Microsoft Word right now, one way to do that is to go up to paragraph on Microsoft Word, and I think it's similar if you're doing Google Docs. You go to, there's this on paragraph, there's this little tab that says special, and you hit hanging, and then everything would be 100%. So this is how it would look in a works cited page. If you're citing this for complex book entry, it looks similar to this too. So if anybody's confused on how I reached the citation for American Dreams, the only thing difference is that essay was not, that book was not an edition, so you would not have like an ed, but everything else would have been the same way. So if anybody has any questions about anything related to citations after watching this video, please let me know, and I'll be happy to help.